two tiny tactics that will make you far more effective in any meeting or conversation. The two tactics can be summarized as this: doing regular spot checks and not filling the silence. So this will work in an interview, this will work either side of the table. This will work in a pitch to a new client or customer, this will work in a negotiation, and this will work if you're running a team meeting or a client meeting or any meeting, in fact, and you're the center of the conversation. So the first is spot checks. When you're making a point, and if it's a long point, if you have to do a fair bit of talking in a row, it's worth stopping every minute or 2 minutes to say, or when you get to an end of a small point, okay, does that make sense to everyone? Am I making sense so far? And the key is to not put the impetus on them like, do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying so far? No. Am I making sense so far? Is everything I'm saying clear? And you do that regularly every minute or two just to stop. Everyone, does that make sense so far? Am I making sense here? Do I need to explain it a different way? And that gives everyone a chance to take the information that they've got and to start to move it into the processor within their brain. Because if you go too long and you don't have spot checks, you just lose people. They just drift, they get distracted. And if you do go too long without checking in, you might find yourself drifting off point yourself. So it's worth grounding yourself and grounding everyone else by doing spot checks regularly. The second thing is, and again, this works for a pitch, for a negotiation, for an interview, either side of the table, or for a meeting, client or team, is to not fill the silence. So when you've made your pitch or you've made your point or whatever it is that you're trying to get across, you just shut up and let the room fill with silence and let people think about it and cogitate over it and get over that instinct to want to just keep blah, 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 blabbing out on top of what you've already said or trying to re-explain it. If you've done your spot checks correctly and you've positioned yourself correctly with what it is you're trying to communicate, you need to give people that sometimes awkward silence to get their head around what they've heard and to then formulate their responses. Now, this is particularly useful in a negotiation. If you keep talking and talking and talking, you will start negotiating against yourself. And that is a terribly weak position to be in. If you want to improve the perception of you, but also the reality of you as a leader and a confident person, regular spot checks in all of these environments. And then when you've made your point and you're comfortable that you've got it across, shush. Shut your mouth, let everyone work on it, let that silence sit there painfully, slowly, excruciatingly sometimes. And the only time you break the silence is if no one's responding and you can see everyone's lost, then you can point someone out and say, Frank, what did you think of that? Have you got anything to add? But other than that, let the silence sit. Spot checks, silence, weapons.